Hello everybody, this is Kiran and today we are going to learn about keys in MySQL. There are different keys which are used and there are a lot of terms which is a little bit confusing, but today we'll learn it in a way so that it's very simple and we'll take a very good example so that you can always remember it. So you must have heard about a lot of keys like super key, candidate key, primary key, alternate key. So there are so many terminologies. It's obvious that people can get confused, but it's fine. We'll take an example which will make this entire set of different types of keys clear, and you can remember it using this diagram. Now, so most important here was what we have to learn is about primary key. And of course foreign key also we have to know all other keys, but primary key and foreign key will be used a lot. In the meanwhile, I'll have to show you a diagram which will help us all to understand the list of keys which is present here, so that we can go to the individual keys and learn. So let me just quickly show you a diagram. Just have a look on the screen for a few seconds. Now, if you can see on my screen, there are two tables here. Okay, the first table is some student table which is having ID of the students, the roll number of the students, the name. There's something called enrollment number also, address of all the students, and the department IDs in which they are enrolled or in which they are allocated. So these are all the different columns. Now we have another table which is department, which is having DEPT ID, name, address. Okay. Now we can see that we have these two columns, but there is these two tables, but we have one column which is common amongst these two tables. What is that column? That is department ID, DEPT ID. Now imagine the DEPT ID is the primary key here. Okay, what is primary key? When we set a primary key in a table, we have to have entries in all the rows, that it has to be not null, and at the same time we cannot have repeated values. No duplicates are allowed in case of primary key. Now imagine we keep the name as the primary key, then it will be difficult, right? Because two people can have the same name. So name cannot be kept as a primary key. We all mostly keep enrollment numbers, IDs, like that. Anything which is unique can be kept as primary key. So department DEPT ID is the primary key of department table, and only ID is the primary key of student table. Okay. Now this DEPT ID is also there in the first table, but here it is not primary, because primary key can be only one, guys, only one. In any table there will be one primary key. So in our previous table, which is student, there is one primary key which is ID 1 2 3 4 5 6, and in the second table the primary key is DEPT ID, which is 1 2 3. DEPT ID is also present in the first table, but there it is called foreign key, because it is relating the two tables, as in it means that roll number 1 or this person A1 is from department 1. So the ID of the department is 1. So if you want to know the name of the department, we have to go to the department table and search for department number 1's name, which is IT department. Similarly, roll number 2, who is Amit, is also in department 1. So here you can see it is repeating. So here it's not at all primary key because it's repeating. It can repeat, like two people will be from the same departments, which is primary key in the other table. Now, so this person Mohan is from department number 2, which is mechanical department. So that's how it is related. So primary key in one table will be foreign key in another table if it is creating the relationship between the two tables. So by now we know two keys, which is one is primary. So primary key will be 1 in each table. It has to be non-duplicate and not null, right? And foreign key is something which is primary key in one table, and it creates a relationship between two tables, and it can be foreign key in the another table, right? Now we can have more number of columns which can be unique or which can actually become primary key. So in this case we can see that roll number is also something which is unique, right? Enrollment number is also unique, right? So these are all the candidates. Okay, anything which seems like a primary key, which can become a primary key, will be the candidate. Though we'll have to choose only one primary key. So all the candidates which could have become the primary key are the candidate keys, and from amongst them only one is chosen as the primary key, and rest are called alternate keys. Okay, repeating. So in a table we can have more than one column which can become primary key. So all these columns are called candidate keys. Amongst all the candidates key, we'll choose one primary key. So one is primary key, and the rest which did not become the primary key are all alternate keys. So that is the definition of primary, foreign, alternate, candidate. Now there's something, there are a few more keys. We'll come to learn about them as well. So you can see here primary, alternate and unique. We'll talk about unique also. So all these together are, they are called super keys. Like if somebody is asking about what is super keys, it's about the combination of all different kinds of keys, which is primary, alternate and unique. Okay. Going back to the types of keys. So super key. What is super key? Super key is a combination. It's a combination of the primary, unique and alternate key. So basically primary, unique and alternate keys are the subsets of the super keys. So you have to remember this. Now candidate, like all the columns which could have become the primary key is called the candidate keys. For example, in this diagram, ID, roll number, enrollment number, all three could become the primary. So they are candidate keys. Out of that, only ID is chosen as the primary. So rest other are alternate keys. So primary key we have already seen, 2 pointers, not null, no duplicates. Okay, always. Alternate is something which could not become the primary key. So out of all the candidates, one will become primary and the others will be alternate keys. Okay. Now there's something called composite and compound key also. So basically combination of more than 2 columns will be named as composite key or compound keys. So whenever we are combining 2 or more columns, they will be called as compound key. Now there comes a term unique key. So yes, unique key is something which has to be non-duplicate, as the name suggests. It has to be unique, but it can allow one null value. As in it is not the primary key, right? But it is very, very similar to primary key. All entries has to be non-duplicate, but there's one null value which is allowed. So that's what is unique key. Okay. Foreign key we have already seen that how a key in one table is primary and it creates a relationship between these two tables. So it is foreign key in this table now. So we'll also run, we'll write queries to create our table having foreign keys and primary keys, so that we can see the usage and also use these columns for joining later on. Use these tables for joining, used for learning joins later on. So foreign key we have known, right? Here is the diagram. So we have department ID as primary, which is foreign in another one. So ID, roll number and enrollment number are all something which could have become primary key. So they are the candidates. Amongst that only one became primary, which is ID. So rest left, which is roll number, enrollment number, are the alternate keys. Super key is a combination of primary, alternate and unique keys. And yeah, so what is unique? Unique is something which is non-duplicate, but it should only allow one null value. Only one null value is allowed. Rest we cannot have any null values also. So that's about keys in MySQL. In the next session, we learn how to create a table with primary relationship and also create a table with foreign key relationship and then use joins on them. So that's all from today's session. We'll meet in the next session. Thank you.